The wind cut through the night like broken glass, and there she was, his boss, curled into herself on a freezing bus stop bench, her red dress soaked, her confidence gone, her eyes hollow like something inside her had finally collapsed. For a second, he thought he was mistaken. This couldn't be the same woman who walked into the office like she owned the world, whose voice never shook, whose presence made entire rooms fall silent. But the way she held her arms around herself, as if trying to keep from falling apart, told a different story, one no one at work had ever seen. If you believe every story hides a lesson, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Kindness. He slowed the car without realizing it, his mind racing faster than the storm around him. His son was asleep in the backseat, wrapped in a worn blanket, trusting him to always know the right thing to do. And yet, in that moment, he wasn't sure. Life had taught him to survive quietly, to avoid complications, to keep moving forward no matter how heavy things got. But something about her, about this moment, felt impossible to ignore. The tires crunched against the snow as he pulled over. The streetlights flickered above them, casting a dim, almost fragile glow on the empty road. When he stepped out, the cold hit him hard, but not as hard as the look on her face when she finally noticed him. It wasn't embarrassment. It wasn't anger. It was something deeper, like she had been seen at her weakest and didn't know how to exist in that space. He didn't ask questions. He simply opened the car door. The ride felt longer than it was. The heater hummed softly, but the silence between them carried more weight than any conversation could. She stared out the window, watching the city blur into streaks of light, as if trying to convince herself it was still real. He kept his eyes on the road, but his thoughts drifted, about how strange life could be, how quickly roles could reverse, how the people we think are strongest often carry the heaviest unseen burdens. When they reached his apartment, he hesitated before stepping inside. It was small, imperfect, filled with the quiet evidence of a life built piece by piece. His son's drawings taped unevenly to the walls, a pair of tiny shoes left by the door, a lingering warmth that money couldn't buy. She stepped in slowly, almost carefully, like she was entering a world she didn't belong to. His son stirred awake, peeking out from the couch with sleepy eyes. For a moment, the room felt suspended in time. Then the boy smiled, a soft, innocent smile that carried no judgment, no expectations. Just warmth, just acceptance. And that's when something inside her broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a way that was unmistakable. She sat down, her hands trembling slightly, her gaze drifting across the room as if she was seeing something she had forgotten existed. Not wealth, not power, but something simpler, something real. It took time before the truth surfaced. Not in a single confession, but in quiet fragments scattered through the night. Pieces of a life that looked perfect from the outside but felt unbearable from within. Endless pressure. Expectations that never eased. Relationships that felt more like transactions than connections. A world where vulnerability was weakness, and so she buried it, deeper and deeper, until it finally found a way out. Tonight, it had. She hadn't been abandoned. She had walked away. From a life that no longer felt like hers. From people who only knew the version of her that performed, not the one that felt. And somehow, she had ended up at that bus stop, not waiting for a ride, but pausing in the middle of everything, unsure where to go next. He listened quietly, not as an employee, not as someone beneath her, but as another human being who understood what it meant to carry invisible weight. He thought about his own struggles, the long nights, the quiet sacrifices, the constant fear of not being enough. And for the first time, he realized that pain didn't belong to one kind of life. It existed everywhere, just hidden in different ways. The night grew quieter. The storm softened. And in that small apartment, something unspoken settled between them, not a solution, not a fix, but a shared understanding that neither of them had expected to find. If this story touched your heart even a little, take a moment to like, share, and let someone else feel it too. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the world in a quiet stillness. Inside, the warmth lingered, not just from the heater, but from something deeper, something human. Before the ending, comment, kindness, if you believe even the smallest moment can change someone's life. By morning, nothing about their lives looked different on the surface. But something had shifted, not in a way that could be explained or measured. Just enough to remind them both, that sometimes, the most shocking discovery isn't finding someone broken. It's realizing they've been breaking in silence all along.